Well, welcome to Rural Strong Live tonight, presented by Clarksville Creative Sound and the American Country Network. Be sure to check out the all-new American Country Network at acncountry.com and be on the lookout for the new show Small Sound Town. Excuse me, Small Town Sound. Easy for me to say, which chronicles the day-to-day activities of the Clarksville Creative Sound label artists. Again, Small Town Sound. Be on the lookout for that. Tonight, we're kicking off our summer series with a country and gospel music legend who has a brand new album out with quite a fascinating backstory. Unfortunately, we couldn't get her on video here. They were having some weather challenges and issues there, which led to some internet challenges, which moved us to the phone. And that's fine because we're going to have a tremendous hour talking to Miss Barbara Fairchild. Barbara, welcome into the program.
Hello. Oh gosh, I'm like Minnie Pearl. I'm just so proud to be here. So thank you for having me on.
Well, we're proud to have you here, and we're proud to talk about this new project. We're going to get into that a little bit later on because there's some just incredible country music history tied to that program here and that project, and we can't wait to tell everybody about it. But first of all, how you been?
I'm great. I'm doing great. I'm happy and I'm happily married and he's happily married and life is grand. And, and we have the grandchildren and we've got great grandchildren. The great ones are just little bitty babies, but it's amazing. We're just life is so good.
And joining us tonight from your home in the Branson, Missouri area, where you were part of an Armed Forces Day program put on by the music legend Tony Orlando over the past weekend. How was that experience?
It was awesome. Now, Tony has had a home here for like 30 years. And then, of course, he just retired, and he's always loved the veterans. And way back, he came here and he had Bob Hope with him, and they did a special show thing, for the veterans, and publicized it all over. And that was the beginning of a tremendous amount of years where we honor the veterans here, and it just brought thousands and thousands of vets here, and so Tony, he was so precious when he's last week, was doing interviews and we were doing everything, letting folks know where the show was going to be, and it was all free to the public and free to the vets, and he actually had the event in what was his theater, the Yellow Ribbon Theater, which, as for years now has been the Freedom Theater, and so it meant a lot to Tony to be back in the same place. And when he was doing the shows those years back, we were all part of that, and we had a tremendous crowd. And this is establishing something that they want to do with some of the folks that are highly decorated veterans, and they're taking a group of kids, about 20, from colleges, high schools. Some of them are underprivileged kids, and flying them. They flew them to NASA.
Oh, nice.
And they want to show them all of what kind of future they could have, and they've taken young people like this for I don't know exactly how many years. It's fairly new, and yet the kids are just blown away by what they see. And so Tony said, "I've retired, as far as my career, but I will never retire from our veterans."
Love it.
He's awesome. He's absolutely a wonderful person.
Well,
and we can't wait for the future.
Well, you talk about being inspired, and I'm curious to know about what your career looks like today. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about your beginnings and what inspired you. You were born in Arkansas, then later moved to St. Louis. What are some of your earliest recollections in the home, as far as music is concerned, and how did that influence you?
Well, we're from a little bitty town. In fact, we lived outside of town. It's called Noble, Arkansas, spelled Knobel, and it's in Clay County, Arkansas. A little bitty place, farm farms and stuff, and my daddy farmed, and we worked, picked cotton, and he grew soybeans and stuff like that. So the family always, in fact, they used to let the kids out when it's time to pick the cotton, you know.
Yeah.
But I always loved to sing, even when I was just a little bitty girl. And people would ask me, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to sing." I didn't have any idea where. I just wanted to sing.
Yeah.
And we had a guy named Jonesy that would come and change the 45s, you know, on the jukebox. And when he was changing them out, you could buy them for a nickel, the ones he was taking off. So we always wanted to be there when he was doing that. My aunt had the cafe there where they changed those out. And so I would get these records, and I'd learn them, sing them, I'd pantomime them. and so my dad, he come home, I think I was about 10 years old, and he said, "There is a prettiest little old blonde-haired girl, and she's got this great record out, and you just watch. It's going to be a big hit, and she's going to be a big star. And her name is Connie Smith."
Nice.
And of course, I grew up loving Brenda Lee and all that kind of stuff too. Never did I ever dream that Connie Smith would be my friend. And Dad would, he'd buy me her albums. I'd learn every song on there and sing along with it. And, you know, we watched any country shows that we could see on TV and all that. And so that was my, you know, early days. And I'd sing in school events and talent shows and stuff like that, you know. I just loved to sing. I'd sing out there standing on the sidewalk if somebody had listened.
You know, my kids are kind of getting to that point in school at the end of the year here, where you go to the kind of the end of the year wrap up programs. And I got to thinking as I was at one today about the teachers that really inspire students and really kind of put that wind in your sails. Did you have any teachers or any adults in your sphere that really encouraged you and really pushed you to seek your dreams and your fortune?
Well, we had a teacher, and she taught English and then music, you know, that course or stuff like that. Her name was Millie Muse, and she played the piano and could sing. And I thought she's the grandest thing ever was when she came to our school. And we, you know, got close to her. And she'd play the piano, and she liked my singing, and she was very encouraging, you know, to me. And I had two aunts that were older than me, and we used to, we were the Fairchild Trio for a while.
Nice.
And we sang in the talent shows and sang at churches and things like that. So, and Miss Muse was really just an inspiration. And so I loved her. It was early, you know, days. And we moved to St. Louis when I was a freshman in high school. And it was kind of a shock. We had other family up there. So Dad moved up there, and he was going to drive a truck. Mm. And we lived right there in one block area. And several of my mom's sisters already lived there. So we, you know, we had family ties there real close. And, but I thought he had ruined my life. And I was a freshman in high school. And of course, I didn't have no Southern drawl, you know. Yeah. I was eat up with it. And here we go at this school. It has 1,200 kids in it. My clothes didn't look like anybody else's there. And Mother and them, they didn't have the money to go out and buy me a whole new wardrobe, so I looked like everybody else. And when I would just hate it when the teacher called on me and I'd have to talk because they would laugh, you know. And I'm like, oh, this is just awful. Well, and so they had an auditorium session occasionally, and if you had any kind of talent, you could sign up. I mean, you could tell jokes, you could sing, dance, you know, whatever. Well, I love to sing, so I signed up for that, and I could accompany myself on the guitar well enough to do it. So I sang in that auditorium session, and people were coming up and saying, "Oh, I really like your singing and all this." So school was not quite as uh, tragic for me after after that. Kind of opened the door, and more people wanted to be my friend. And then if I go too long, too fast, say, "Shut up, Barbara, and let me ask you another question."
No,
But
I enjoy learning.
well, and so I went in a music store with some friends that I went to church with, and that he had a daughter my age, and her son that played, and they played guitar. And Haskell Woods was his name, and his son's name was Jim, and my friend's name was Vicky. But anyhow, uh, so we go in this huge music store called Tower Grove Music, and they knew this guy very well, and I was wishing I could have a new guitar and all that. And you could go in there, and take them down and like kind of play on them. And so Ray Hunsinger was the guy's name, and he said they asked me to sing him a song. So I sang "Were You There When They Crucified My
Oh
Lord?"
man, great song.
And he said, "You sing really well." And he said, "I have a friend that has a record label here, and it was called Norman Records." And he said, "They're located here locally." And he said, "And I've got one of the best guitar players in town that teaches lessons here. And he plays, a group all over town. And I'd like to bring him in and record you." So he recorded some songs, and Bobby Caldwell was that guy's name. And he played it for the man that had the record label. And he liked my voice, so he wanted to record some stuff with me. Yeah, that was that side of it. And then when they've recorded three records and stuff on there, and they played them locally. But before my records got a whole lot of attention, there was a show called the Norval Dollar Show, and he was the local entertainer there that everybody liked. And on Saturday afternoons, there was these shows that would just run, consecutively. Ernest Tubbs' show was there, and I think Bill Anderson's, and so it was just, country music for a few hours there. And Norval Dollar's show was in that. And so, and I don't know if you're familiar with a guy named Jimmy Payne.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so Jimmy was from St. Louis there, and we'd met him and were friends. And he had a manager named Tony Mazzola. See, my brain is so good, I'm remembering everybody's name. And so Dad said, he needs to hear you sing. Well, and so everywhere where Jimmy was, I'd go. And he was also, let me back up, because he was also Norval Dollar's manager.
Okay.
And Dad thought I should be on that TV show too. And so we was trying to get a chance for him to hear me sing. And my dad was not afraid to ask, and I was not afraid to sing. And so we went to 2 or 3 different things that Norval was doing, and my dad had a word with him. And after that, he tried to avoid us. Because, how many people have a little girl who sings, and they're not, and so he wasn't necessarily looking for a little girl that sang. And so I said, "I don't think he wants to hear me, Daddy," after he ran away from us for a couple of times. And then Jimmy Payne was playing in town, and we knew Jimmy, so we went to see him. And when he saw I was there, he got me up to sing a song. And Tony Mazzola, who was Norval's manager, came up to me and said, "I really like your singing." Said, you need to come be on Norval's show.
Huh.
And I said, well, I tried to sing for him. He just kind of runs when he sees me, And so he made arrangements that when they rehearsed, for their show that week, the band, I went down there. He introduced me to the band, and Norval wasn't in where they rehearsed there yet. And so he said, they said, well, what do you want to sing? And I said, well, the song, I've heard the wind blow before, which it was popular at that. I bet Wilma Burgess recorded. Anyway, so we ran through that. And so then Norval comes in and he says, do you sing any rock and roll? And I said, no, sir, I just sing country. And he said, well, I was kind of looking for somebody that could do variety. That was baloney because they didn't have any rock and roll on his show. But I think he just said that because probably he was annoyed enough with us, and then boom, here he is, and there I am, And so he said, well, sing me a song, So I sang I've Heard the Wind Blow Before. And then he said, sing that again. So I sang it again, and he liked my singing.
Wow.
And pretty soon I was a regular on the show.
That's all it took, huh?
Well, that's how it started. Now I can go on and tell you, because it was a door open, because there was a lady, and this woman was very, very important in my life. And her name was Ruby Van Oy. And she was watching the show, her and her husband, and I'd get my Aunt Beulah to do my hair sometime for the show, and it'd be really high on my head. And her husband was watching this show, and he said, Ruby, you need to come in and hear this girl. She can really sing. Now, remember, I wasn't but like 16 years old. She walked through there and said, oh, that's probably Norval Dollar's girlfriend. I guess my hair made me look older. I don't know. But anyhow, and then she started listening, and she said, well, she can sing good. Well, she knew a guy in the band, in Norval's band. She called and asked if he would give her my phone number. And she called me, and she said, I write songs, but I can't sing. And that was true. But anyway, she could sure write, though. And she said, I really like your voice. And said, would you be willing to come out to my house and learn some of my songs where I could put them on tape and be able to play them for people, see if they'd record? And she said, I'll pay you to do it. And I said, you don't have to pay me. I'll come out there and do it. And I did, and we became great friends. And so I was just a kid, but so she wrote wonderful songs, and I play a guitar enough to just kind of figure out how she wanted it to sound, and we put it on tape. And so one day she said, let's write a song together. I said, I can't write a song. And she said, yes, you can. I'll teach you. And so she said, okay, well, we need an idea. And so she said, and I didn't have any idea, but she said, well, we got to find an idea. And there was a magazine laying there on the coffee table. And she starts thumbing through those pages. And there was a car, you ever see where they like cut the thing in half, and you can see all the inner workings of this car. And at the top, it said Talking Light. And she said, that's our title. And so I said, okay, And so we wrote this song, Talking Lights. And it was about a husband. He's a cheater, is what he was. And so at night, when the neon lights was flickering, that was his call to go out there and carouse, basically, And so it is really a good song. And so it wasn't long after that we had a few things. And her sister, we just formed a 3-writer team, And so we'd put each other's names, whatever we wrote, all three of us, our names were on it. And my dad took us to Nashville. We had an appointment there with a guy at Cap Records. And it was not a major label, but Mel Tillis had been on that label, and even Cher at some point, and different people. And so we go in there, and another fellow that went with us, and I played that song, a couple of songs we wrote, and we had a tape of something that we played. And so he said, "Well, you're a cute little girl, and you sing really good. Our problem is that we're not really looking for a cute little girl that sings good right now." He said, and that's nothing against you, but he said, the thought was, if you invest a lot of money in a kid and they don't stay with it, you've lost a lot of money.
Right.
And of course, this guy that went with us said, "Well, I think she sings as good as Brenda Lee. I wish we'd have left him in the car." Because the guy said, "Well, I don't know." He said that Brenda Lee was really an exception, and she actually recorded on our label for a while. She is amazing. I'm like, oh, Lord, I wish that God shut up, that other guy, our friend, And so he was very polite, and he thanked us for coming in and all that, and bid us the best. Now, so anytime you want me to take a breath, I can.
No, you're good.
Okay.
All good
So
stuff.
my daddy was worn out. He's a truck driver, and he had stayed up and drove us to Nashville after he got off work, so he hadn't had any sleep. And he said, "I'm going to sit on this bench right here and take me a nap. And y'all take a walk, and this is where I'll be." So Ruby and I, and we just walk around looking at these different record companies and think, this is so amazing. There's RCA, there's Columbia, and there's, and we were just in awe. Well, we took a shortcut after, because there was like a drive-through alley kind of thing, not closed in, but just a little road there. And we looked at the RCA building. We took a shortcut coming back through the Decca parking lot. And this guy came out, and Ruby and her sister Ann had been to Nashville before, once or twice, just knocking on doors at publishing companies and all this. And so she said, "I think I know that guy." So we didn't have any better sense but to say, "What's your name?" And he said, "Jerry Crutchfield."
Wow.
Well, so Ruby said, "Well, do you know Jan Crutchfield?" Because he had actually met with her and her sister Ann on it, and it actually took a couple of their songs that they had pitched to him. Hadn't recorded and done anything with them, but he took them into the publishing company. And so he said, "He's my brother." So that was the door right there, and we had a good conversation. And he said, what are you going to do in town?" And I said, "Well, I sing and we write." Now, I had written a total of 2 songs with Ruby, and The Talking Lights was one of them, And so he said, "I was going to go to lunch, but I'll take a few minutes and come in and let me hear what you got." Now, I think he wouldn't have done that if his brother had not been mentioned,
Right.
So, and I had a couple of things that we'd recorded, like demo things. And then I played the guitar, and I sang him Talking Lights. And he said, "I like that song, and I like your voice." And I was 16 at that time, okay? And he said, "If you'll go home and write me 7 more as good as this song, call me back, and I'll have you come back." So in 2 months, we had 16 songs.
Wow.
And so we called him and everything, and we went down there. Daddy drove us back down again, and we went in there, and he listened to what we had, and he scheduled a recording session and a demo thing, and I recorded all those as demos. And he signed us as writers and signed me to a management contract. That's how it started.
And then you go to Nashville at age 17. What was it like
Yeah.
just trying to plug yourself into Nashville to network to really get yourself fit in?
Well, see, and I didn't move to Nashville. I stayed in St. Louis,
Oh, okay.
until I had a hit. And then Ruby continued to write and all that. And the thing was, I didn't have to do a lot because Jerry did it. He was the open door.
Uh-huh.
And so, he produced the songs that we did. And my first single actually had 2 records on Cap Records, the guy that turned me down. And we had a song called "Remember the Alimony."
Clever
You want to
title.
hear the lyrics?
Yes.
I'll read you some. I'll tell you some of it. And don't mind that. I think it's somebody just saying somebody tried to call. But anyway, it says, "You say you're broke, you lost your job, and you don't have any money. Where did you get that big Cadillac? Did she give it to you, honey? I don't want to give you no trouble, but next month it better be double. Or I'm sending in the man in the blue serge suit because I want my alimony." And the chorus was, "Remember the alimony, your alibis are getting stale and phony." Oh Lord, let's see. Maybe that's where "I don't want to give you no trouble. Next month it better be double." That's where that come in. But it was way, and so it was a cute little song, and it got some decent airplay. And then I had another single after that, and things were going well, but we were writing songs up a storm. And then Jerry, because he run the publishing company, and our songs were all with that company, and he's pitching them to other artists. And Billy Sherrill, we wrote a song that he just really loved, and I think it's "A Sweeter Love" was the name of it. And I think by that time when that happened, I had a couple of albums that we had done. So that kind of at least one for sure. And so we sent the demo over there, and he really loved that song. And he said, and he pitched it to other artists and stuff like that. It wasn't for them. And he finally said, "If you will let me have Barbara over here at Columbia, I'll record that on her."
Mm.
And so trying to, and there's some time passed on this. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't years and years, but there was because I had a couple of albums and stuff, or at least the one. And when and my friends, I had 2 friends, Don Earl and Nick Nixon, and I sang a lot with Nick in St. Louis. We sang duets and stuff. And I introduced them to Jerry, and so they started writing for him. And they were good songwriters. And they pitched me their songs, but they didn't fit me. So we were working on this album, and it was going to be called "A Sweeter Love" because it had that ballad. And this was my first one on Columbia. And Jerry said, "Let me play this little song that Don and Nick wrote before we go to the studio." Well, it was the Teddy Bear song. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I love that." I said, "Don't play that for anybody else. That one's mine."
Did you ever think it would be as big of a hit as it was, though, when you heard it?
No, I just knew I loved it.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, he pitched it to a lot of people before he played it for me. And fortunately for me, they didn't record it. A lot of them recorded later
After,
in their
yes.
albums. Yeah. And so they put this out, and it has a beautiful cover. I look really sweet and serene. I was holding a big thing of flowers and all that.
We're actually showing
And
it. We're actually showing it right now. We've got it up
oh,
on the
are you?
screen right now. Yep.
People thought I was very quiet and everything from my album covers, Anyway, so they released a Sweeter Love, and it was doing well, uh, moving up the charts pretty good, And Bill Anderson told me he visited this radio station in Atlanta. It was WPLO, and it was a real important radio station at that time. And he said, I was there about an hour, and he said, and they got 72 calls to play the Teddy Bear song while I was there.
And that was the DJ Jim Clemens, and you hadn't released that as a single at that point. That was just a deeper cut that he decided he was going to put on the air, and it took off, wasn't it?
Well, he was the key to this thing because, and because the other song was doing well in the charts. But he called Columbia and said, you got a hit record on Barbara Fairchild if you put it out. And he told them the Teddy Bear song. Well, they rushed it out, and that became the hit off the album. The other one did okay, but if they knew they had a winner, they weren't going to mess around and wait, and that's how it happened.
Wow!
And it was such a blessing for Nick and Don and me, and we just celebrated last year the 50th anniversary of it being number one.
Yeah. And did I remember correctly? Don was a former homicide detective. Is that correct?
He was, and Nick had a really good band there in St. Louis. And I was too young to be in the clubs there singing with him, but my daddy always went with me. I was from I bet Nick, I was about 14, 15, probably 15 when I met him. And I could sing, in there. And my daddy didn't drink. We'd just go in there so I could sing. And me and Nick would sing the Dolly and Porter songs, and we sang Waylon and Jesse songs. Our voices blended really well. And he was a real good entertainer. And I just wanted all the experience that I could have singing, And so, that little record changed their lives and mine. And it's amazing.
Well, I think something else phenomenal about that song too, you also had the Jordanaires backing you up on that one.
Oh, they were so amazing. Great people.
Think about the history there.
Well, and when I look, and I got a scrapbook and a whole stack of pictures and articles and stuff like that. So I started putting them in photo albums, and I'm looking and thinking, never in my life back then did I ever dream I'd get to do all this.
Yeah.
And but everybody's just people, even the ones that are superstars and stuff, they're still just people. Some of them don't know it.
Right.
But I've just been so blessed, and I just thank the good Lord for it.
Well, on the heels of that one, you had Kids Stuff, which reached number 2 in 1973, and Baby Doll, which peaked at number 6 in 1974. On the heels of those, what did life look like there in the rest of the 70s and the first half of the 80s as far as your career?
Oh, well, I was making good money and, playing good dates and singing and on shows with big stars, and they considered me one I'd ever be. I just always who I am. And I never thought more highly of myself than I should, but life got busier and more hectic, and, you go through things. And I tell you, this is important because this happened to me just before I got my Teddy Bear song. And I was raised in church, my family was real faithful about church and all that. And I loved Jesus as much as I knew about him. But you remember a girl named Peggy Little
Yep.
that had yeah, so Peggy and I were friends. We've got to be friends. And so I was still living in St. Louis at that point, and I would go to Nashville. Sometimes I'd stay with her, and sometimes I'd stay out at Ruby's, the songwriter. She'd moved up there. Anyway, and so this particular time was just for the weekend, and we did the Opry on Friday night. And Peggy had had a really tough life growing up, been through a lot. And she was really different this time, and she's so happy. Usually she'd tell me a lot of stuff going on and misery,
Right.
And she's so happy. And I finally said, "What's happened to you? I've never seen you so happy." And she said, "I got saved." I said, "From what?" Now, see, in the church I grew up in, you go forward, you'd make a decision, but they didn't really say, "I got saved."
Right.
So, and so, boy, she was just bubbling over. She said, they're having an all night prayer meeting at church there, and said, I'm going out there after the opera. You want to go with me? I said, I guess so. Got nothing else to do. And I wouldn't like really trying to live my life pleasing Jesus. I wouldn't do anything really bad.
Right.
But in my church that I grew up in, they just weren't like really on fire.
Right.
You go to some nice quiet services. Anyway, so we go out there, and I rode with her. And so I didn't have my car. Well, so we go out to the church, and it was Jimmy Snow's church.
Right.
Yeah, so you probably know a lot about Jimmy, being Hank's son and all that. And so, and they really rejoiced. Let me just put it that way. It was totally different from how I was raised. And the denomination I grew up in thought they were right and no one else was. But that's another story.
Yeah.
So anyway, and they start singing, and man, everybody got on their feet and they put their hands in there, and somebody shouted, "Oh, I love you, Jesus!" And I'm thinking, "Oh my goodness, I'm in one of these holy roller churches." And I'm not saying that to insult anybody. It was just, with your upbringing and what people say. And I thought, "Oh my Lord." So I just kind of stood there, and we didn't have instruments in the church I grew up in. Pretty soon you'll know which one. But anyhow, and I thought, man, it's a shame God hates this. It sounds really good. This is absolutely the truth. I'm not embellishing it. And so after we had some really good singing and everything, the preacher said, "Let's all come to the altar and pray." And I did go. I mean, everybody else went. Well, when it got pressure there, I thought, I guess I could go. So I didn't want to. I don't have my car. I don't want to look out of place. So I went up there and knelt there, and boy, they started praying. They pray every way you could pray. And my mother had been very critical about folks that believe like they did. Anyhow, so I'm kneeling there, and I thought, I can't pray. Because I wasn't trying to live for Jesus that time. And so Brother Snow, I guess he looked around to see what God was up to. And he came down and said, Barbara said, "Do you want the Lord to forgive you of your sins?" And I said, "Well, yes." And he said, "All you have to do is ask him." And then he went back up the steps. He didn't say, "Can I pray with you?" or "You talk with you?" or nothing. No. So I thought, well, I guess I could try to talk to God. I'm in position for it. So I prayed this little quiet prayer. And I said, "Lord, I'm sorry for all my sins. And, forgive me." Like, that was about it. But I felt different. and I wasn't near as uncomfortable and all that. And I cried some, when I prayed that little prayer and everything. And eventually, I went back and got on the back pew and went to sleep because I had driven from St. Louis down to the Opry. Then here we go to church.
Uh-huh.
But that's how it started. And I'll speed this up because I went back Sunday morning because that was on that Friday night. And I was a little more comfortable, because I really did like their music. And, the Lord had touched my heart. And not that I really understood it. And me and Peggy had talked some and all this. And so he gave an altar call with it. And I didn't feel like I should go. But then he said, let's all find a place to kneel and pray. Some people went forward. Well, Peggy, we're like 3 pews from the front. And she just didn't say anything to me about, you want to go with me? She just went and left the pew. And so I followed her. And she went to the front pew and she knelt down. I knelt down beside her. And when my knees hit the floor, I just broke and I was just weeping. And I did not know why. But I mean, it was God. I found that out. And I heard this sweet voice saying, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. And I was crying so hard, and I looked up and said, thank you for what? And it was Connie Smith.
Awesome.
And she prayed with me, took me in the back, and just talked to me privately. And she prayed with me, and I gave my heart to Jesus.
There were a lot of people who were pretty influential in country music who were members of that church, weren't there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it was wonderful. And, he changed my life so much after that. And I guess one of these days I ought to write a book and tell it all. But it was just, it was life changing. I mean, it really was. And, of all things, I mean, Connie, to be the one to pray when I was 10 years old and Daddy brings her album home. So God really sees, he knows how to connect things. And we've, we're great friends. And me and her and Sharon White did a gospel album together. And Ricky Skaggs produced it, and it's awesome. And it's one of my favorite things I've ever done.
Well, and it opened up a whole new avenue for your career to be able to use that calling to share the gospel with folks.
Absolutely. I am not shy about doing it either.
Love it.
And my husband and I, we're actually ordained ministers.
Uh-huh.
We're ordained ministers, my husband and I. And we did, I live in Branson. I did a worship service for, 27 years here. Are you still with me?
Yeah, I am. No, I'm just listening here. I was going to note here that you guys still travel the country quite a bit and visit and share your music with a lot of churches, cowboy churches, and so forth around the country.
Yeah, we do it all, and and we still do shows, and the Lord, he uses, he just gives us great opportunities to. I just want to be a light for him,
right?
And it's just been amazing. And then, if you want to talk about Don's album,
right? Well, that's
another miracle.
That's where I was headed next here, and I wanted to let folks know the new album, "All My Cloudy Days Are Gone." It has quite a fascinating backstory, as we mentioned in the open. It was produced by the country music legend Don Williams. Of course, we lost the pride of Floydada, Texas. Don Williams in September 2017 at the age of 78. But you had the distinct honor, if I understand correctly, of being the only person he was
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
That's and John Doris, a man that was working with Don at the time. And see what I booked with the Jim Halsey agency, and Don, they booked Don. And so we that's I met Don the first time in St. Louis, just backstage at a show there, because they used to have shows up there at the Kill Auditorium. He was just really nice and polite. And then it was it. I worked some shows with him through the Halsey agency, and I didn't know, I didn't even realize that Don liked me as much as he did, but he's very soft spoken and quiet and all this. And I went to England and performed over there on a tour that he did, and his wife Joy went, on that first trip, and then I ended up moving to Texas, lived down there for a while, and then I came back, and I was invited to a Christmas party at John Doris's house. And at that time, him and Don had a company that they'd set up called Artist Direction. And it wasn't a booking agency, it was more like a management thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to work with certain artists that Don really liked and liked their music and liked them as people and all this. And so when I went at that party, the Whites were there and Ricky Skaggs, and we just was, talking and having a good time there, me and Sharon and Cheryl. And Don just said the other day he wished he knew where you were. Huh. And he said he really likes your singing. And so he started talking about this company that set up, and he said, he's on the road. He'll be back Monday, and I'm sure he'll want to talk to you. So, give him a phone number and all that. And I don't know if he said call us or they called me, but Don got on the phone and said, how long would it take you to come down here and talk to me? And I said, probably about 45 minutes to an hour or something. I didn't live that far from town. And so he said, won't you come down here? So I did. And there went in his office, and he started talking to me, and he said, Joy and I just think the world of you. And I'm like, I'm going to say, really? I didn't know that, And then he said, and I love your singing.
That's awesome.
Love your voice, he said. And he started saying, if you want to get back involved in this crazy business, and he explained what they were doing with the artists they were working with. He said, then I would like to help you. And I was just blown away. I mean, wow. As nice as he could be. And so and it wasn't too long after that, he wanted to do an album, and he went to the label and got a budget to do it, and it was the label that he was on. And so we did this album, and they released 2 singles that did pretty well. In fact, and the first one was All My Cloudy Days Are Gone, which is the name of this project, and one called Just Out Riding Around. Well, and they did well in the charts, And then I have no details about what happened or anything, but at some point Don and the label got a dispute with each other, and he left the label, and they never released anything else of mine. And I don't know if they were just angry at him or what, but and this project was never an album until now. Mm-hmm. It was a finished project. And the miracle side of this thing, I just like, and Don worked with Charlie Pride up here when I was living in Branson. When I first come up here, and they had Charlie Pride Theater, and I did the morning shows. And when Don was there, he'd want me to come on and sing a little bit before he came out. And then Charlie, when he was in town, Don wouldn't be in town, so the 3 of us did shows at the Charlie Pride Theater. I never asked him about that, what happened, and he never told me anything. And that was like in the 90s. I forget if I come up here in 92 or something when uh, I know I've been here a long time, but and I never, because it was like in the later 80s, like 86 or something like that when we did that album.
Mm-hmm.
And then here we were working together, in the early 90s, but I didn't ask him about it. He was a very private person.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, well, if he didn't want to talk about it, I'm sure not going to bring it up. I didn't know. Anyway, and my husband, I went through a divorce, from who I was married to way back in those days. And I remarried my husband. I mean, I'm married my husband now. And so you have stuff in storage. And my husband, Roy's awesome. He's wonderful. And so he was going through boxes just in storage. And I mean, it wasn't climate control, it's just stuff, And he found this disc of this album.
Oh, wow.
And I don't even remember when he did it. He said, well, I played it for you. And I said, well, this week goes into the land of forgetfulness back then, because I never thought that nothing could happen with it. And then when the laptops come along, he loaded it up on a laptop. And so maybe a year ago, we were visiting our friend Johnny Minnick, Johnny has a long history in gospel music, and he's a wonderful producer and singer and all that. And we were at their house, and I said, I want you to hear something. And so I played that for him. I'm going to take a drink of water here.
Yeah.
I need a cough drop and a drink of water.
And while she does that, I just want to acknowledge everybody who's jumped on here tonight. I see a lot of good friends on here. Bill Trickett's on here. Barbara Allen, our friend Terry Lemaster. Great artist in his own right. Marlene Connor's on here. I see my mom is on here. Glad she's checking things out tonight here, and hope you're doing well. Thank you to everybody who's on here checking things out. Drop where you're watching or listening from in the comments here. Again, we're with Barbara Fairchild. Sorry we couldn't bring her here via video. We had some technical issues, but we got her here via phone. And man, just a great discussion here. I'm glad you mentioned that, Barbara, about whether or not you had talked with him over the years about that, because that was a question I had. When it goes that long, it was 38 years between the time you recorded it and the time it finally saw light of day. And it just, I wondered if there were ever conversations along the way about what the heck ever happened to that thing.
Well, and the thing, no, Don and I never talked about it after that. We were still friends, but we didn't,
Uh-huh.
And I don't know. I just didn't, I mean, and that's some years that passed before I came to Branson, what I'm saying, from that. Not long time, but it just seemed like something that was just in the dust, in the back.
Uh-huh.
And so, he was a very private individual, if he wanted to talk to me about it, he would,
Right.
But, so when Johnny listened to this and said, that's really wonderful, what are you going to do with it? I said, I don't know if I can do anything with it. And the label that it was recorded on was sold to a big entity, and that company had a huge fire, and there were masters that were burned up.
Right.
I tried to find out about my project and everything, from the original folks that did it. Nothing, nobody, nowhere. And so Johnny said, well, first thing we had to find out is this a mastered copy? Because if it's not a mastered copy, you can't do anything with it.
Right.
and uh, and it was. So it's mastered. And they even, with what they have today, they can make it sound even a little better than it did when it was recorded.
Right.
And uh, and then you got to find out if there's a claim to it somewhere, because Don has passed away.
Right.
His sons sold his catalog, and I don't even know if that project probably wasn't in his catalog. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and then a lot of people have passed away and all this. And so nowhere was there a claim to it. So it now belongs to us,
Nice.
which is amazing. It's a miracle. And I'm so not, I'm happy for myself, but I'm also really happy for Don's sake,
Right.
because this meant a lot to him. And he was so happy in that studio when we were doing this. I mean, Don could be funny, you know what I'm saying? But uh, he was having the time of his life in there recording that.
Did he give you
And
any kind of special advice, or did he have any notable quirks or anything like that you recall from recording with him?
well, no, he once told me when I was having trouble with my marriage way back. He said, Barbara, if someone can't handle who you are, you don't need to be with them, because there's a lot of turmoil and stuff like that,
Yeah.
And so, anyway, uh, he said a lot. He didn't say a lot, but when he said something, it was worth listening to. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Because it's not your problem if they can't handle who you are, kind of thing.
Right.
But him and Alan Reynolds, who's a great producer, they sang the harmony on there, and I sang harmony some, and it was a real pretty black-haired girl that sang harmony, and I've not been able to find out who she was, because I wanted to, give the musicians the credit, and we found almost all the writers on the songs, and we're escrowing. We're going to escrow anything that do the ones we don't know who they are,
Nice.
and maybe they'll come forward, because we just don't have any paperwork on it.
Well, yeah, I bet if you start making money on
So
it, they'll start coming out of the woodwork, won't they?
yeah, and so I guess they'll have to prove it, that's their
Yeah.
song, whatever. But the ones that I could find, I've talked to and told them, how much I appreciate their music and stuff. But the just the joy of this happening, when it meant a lot to Don and our John Doris. I mean, John. I didn't know this, but because I sent Jennifer Herron, who's doing PR stuff for us. I said, if you want to talk to John Doris, you might could get some answers from him that I don't know.
Right.
And so when she went and talked to him, he said, oh, he thought the world of Barbara.
Huh.
And said, and I mean, that floored me, and said he said she is absolutely one of the best female singers out there, and she's one of the finest entertainers.
Right.
And I love her voice. Well, that is very humbling. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I know, and she asked John, has he ever produced any other artist? He said, no, just her.
Well, and because of that, the Country Music Hall of Fame has taken this album into its archives here, and they only do that for certain projects that they consider to be rare.
Yeah,
That's a big deal.
It wasn't no big ceremony, but I just give them one. I've been signed a thing and said, okay, you can have it. But I mean, it's an honor for them to do that. And I am just so, I love the album.
Right.
And And just two things. There's two songs on it that someone else recorded after I did it, and I like to tell people this. Now, but I don't blame anybody for recording them. These are great songs. It's just laying there. You know what I'm saying? And Alan produced Kathy Mattea. You know, when she came on the scene, and so she's a great artist. And there lay a great song that was a hit for her. And only reason I want to say that is I don't want people to think I copied her record.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was in hiding. And I'm so happy that she had such a hit on it.
Right. And that song was Going Gone for anybody who's unfamiliar.
Yeah, and they're real similar in the musically and everything. And the other one was Johnny Cash and June Carter recorded Where Did We Go Right? Now theirs is way different than mine. Right. but as far as I know, those are the only two songs that, and other people have recorded All My Cloudy Days Are Gone. And I don't know, I mean, it's been in some albums and some stuff like that, you know, and because I just wouldn't look to see, is there anyone ever recorded it? And I found it's different people recorded it.
Right.
But I just love it. I absolutely love it. And the funniest thing, we did these little clips, video clips. Well, see, and they to promote it, just little short videos to fit some of those out just before the release date. And so I lip sang because if I tried to really record them, you wouldn't have Dawn on it.
Right.
So for these video clips, I lip sang. I've done a good job on it too. I pat myself in the back, and it was so fun. But what was so funny is people say, "Boy, you sing just as great as you always did. Your voice is so clear and everything." I would tell them I lip sang it. You know, I had to. It's the only way we could keep Dawn on the record, you know. But anyway, and I don't sing quite as high as I did back then, but I'm trying to get my range back up there, you know.
Again, the project is called All My Cloudy Days Are Gone. And we've got the title cut here. Would you mind if we play that for the folks right now?
I don't mind a bit because I'm going to sing just as good as I ever did on it.
We're going to play that and then we'll come back and round things out here on the show.
Okay.
All my cloudy days are gone. I can see the sunlight. You turned it on. The way you've been loving me, I can do no wrong. All my cloudy days are gone. You're the wind that blew my blues away. You're the cold that kept me from the rain. The way you've been loving me, I can feel no pain. All my cloudy days are gone. There sunlight, you turned it on. The way you've been loving me, I can do no wrong. All my cloudy days are gone. The way you've been loving me, I can do no wrong. All my cloudy days are gone.
Again, a number of people have recorded that, but none have done it better than Barbara Fairchild. What a beautiful recording.
Oh, I just love the album too. I'm so proud of it.
That's a great song, and you can really feel in the way those songs are arranged, just the Don Williams signature feel and the presence there. So, and so touching to get to hear those all these years later.
Oh, it is. It's a gift, and if people want to get it, it's on all of those internet platforms and stuff. You know, they can download it, or if they want the actual CD, they can just go to barbarafairchild.com.
There you go.
It's that simple.
You can find it out there on YouTube. Go listen to it, but go throw a couple bucks her way and go get the CD. It's quite a treasure, and we'll play one.
Yeah, we send it out to them if they want it signed and everything. So we'll be glad to do that.
Absolutely. Well, we'll certainly push for that here, and we'll share one more song as we close things out tonight. But I want to make mention of one thing here. You mentioned Jennifer Herron, who does publicity for you, the PR and media maven here. Also, the wife of great country singer-songwriter Bobby Marquez. And Bobby is celebrating a birthday today. So happy birthday, Bobby. We don't know if you guys are listening.
Yeah, they are wonderful people. And I bet they're having a good birthday. He's such a great guy, and she's a wonderful woman.
Yeah, they are salt of the earth. I love them to death. And excited for Bobby having a birthday. And we should note that you are going to join Bobby in a star-studded cast on Saturday, June the 8th for Country with Heart, Bobby's 10th annual benefit for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Also there will be Leroy Parnell, Exile, John Conley, Charlie McCoy, Rex Allen Jr., Wood Newton, Jason Coleman, and Jonathan Bond, along with Brady Seals, for a special night of entertainment to raise money for such a worthy cause. That'll be at the Nashville Nightlife Dinner Theater, and tickets can be purchased by going to eventbrite.com. That's eventbrite.com. and searching for a Country with Heart. And that'll be a special night, won't it?
It will. And let me tell you, I've got a special donation I'm making, and they're going to auction off. And if you've ever been down there to the Opry and you've seen the bronze statue of Minnie Pearl,
right?
A guy named Bill Raines made that. And we became friends with him, and he's done statues like all kinds of places. He's just an amazing people. And he did a sketch. He'll sketch it before he makes it.
Right.
Or either after he makes it or whatever. And I have a signed sketch of that.
Oh, wow.
And he signed it. Bill has passed away now. And as I'm looking at this thing, it looks like the number on it is 01.
Oh, wow.
Which would be the first drawing.
Uh-oh.
And he loved me and Roy, and he gave us that. And so I can't think of a better thing to do with it than donate it so they could raise some money for St. Jude's. I love what those people do and how they save children's lives.
I might have to go.
And I have a little cousin that had leukemia when she was little.
Mm-hmm.
It was at St. Jude's, and she's still alive today. And
what a blessing!
And yeah, so it's wonderful to be part of that.
I might have to go and break my piggy bank open right now for that one.
Well, it's beautiful. I'll tell you that. It's wonderful.
Well,
I'm so glad to give it.
we look forward to seeing you there on June 8th here. Of course, our Rural Strong Radio will be the official radio partner of that event. And we look forward to being behind the scenes again this year, our third time around, doing artist interviews and throwing those up on social media so folks can hear from some of the stars after they come off stage at that great event here, which is kind of on the back end of the CMA Fest weekend. So if you happen to be headed to town for CMA Fest or any other reason, make sure you get your tickets, eventbrite.com, and search A Country with Heart. And you're keeping plenty busy these days. I understand in addition to all you have going on here in Branson and in the States, you're going to be heading over to Ireland, where ironically you once joined Don Williams.
Yeah, I was there one time. Do you know who Daniel O'Donnell is?
Yes.
All right, that Daniel has a TV show over there, and so my husband and I are going over there and film 3 of his shows. And Daniel come to Branson, and in fact, we had a theater that we operated for a number of years. And the first place he played in Branson was our theater.
Uh-huh.
And so then he kept drawing once people really knew him. He's amazing. And he keep filling that theater, and then he'd go to a bigger one, then a bigger one. And he now plays in the largest one in Branson when he comes over. And he comes over every year, for a few weeks. And I told him, we always try to see him, at least once and visit with him. And I said, Daniel, I want to sing in Ireland. He said, you do? And I said, yes, I do. And I was really just kind of cutting up with him. And I said, now I did sing there once when I was on tour with Don. And I think we did 2 or 3 shows on the tour. And I said, but I want to go back. And so, and I really was just kind of messing with him, not that I wouldn't really like to go back. And he said, well, I'm gonna have to see what we can do about that. So we're going over there in June and film 3 of his shows.
Oh, great. Well, there's
they're awesome.
Such a hunger for traditional country music over in Ireland.
Oh yeah, and it is pure. I mean,
Right.
You can find him on the internet, and his shows are wonderful, and they're wonderful here. Don't ever miss a chance to see him. I'm going to tell your listeners that, because he's amazing.
When we brought up Bobby Marquez, also you're going to be joining he and Wood Newton and our friend Linda Davis in September at the iconic Bluebird Cafe there in Nashville.
Yeah, and Alan Rody's going to be there too, and he's the one that wrote All My Cloudy Days Are Gone.
Oh, great.
Okay.
And I don't know if tickets are already on sale or already gone for that one. They don't last very long at the Bluebird Cafe.
Now, you're talking about when I'm going to be in the Bluebird later?
Right, correct.
Okay, yeah, that's later. I think that's in September.
Yep.
Yeah, Linda Davis and
Yep.
And I love her.
Oh,
I could go on about her all day long.
Right.
We are great friends. So
great.
we'll just save some for that performance.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned your husband and de facto tech director there, Roy Morris, and you performed together in Branson. What's it like getting to hit the stage with him?
Oh, it was a blast. Now, we're not doing a show right now. We did it for a number of years, and then we started doing some other things. And I always pray about everything, and people may think, well, I don't know if you really heard from the Lord, but I did.
Uh-huh.
And it was and it was the same thing with the service. Lay this aside for now.
Yeah.
And so he wants you to do something else. I'm going to go do that. And then maybe I get to do the same thing I did before again.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well,
when I hear from heaven, I'll let y'all know.
That's important. Well, if folks want to keep keep up with your comings and goings or your church appearances, where can they go to do all that?
Well, I've got a Facebook page, just Barbara Fairchild, and like I said, we got the email. You can text me there at barbarafairchild.com, and ask me what you want to know, and or talk to me on Facebook.
Well, I,
Send me a message on there.
well, I promise
And
people one more song before we get out of here. You mentioned the Kathy Mattea song "Going Gone." We've got your version of that thing queued up here, and boy, if there's one on the album, and I had trouble choosing songs because they were all so good, but this one just drips Don Williams, in my opinion. So I want to share this one with the folks, and then we'll
okay,
close her out. This is "Going Gone."
thank you.
There's a lighthouse in the harbor, giving guidance with its light. But I had no one to return to as I wandered through the night. From the first time that I saw you, standing silent by the shore, I knew my search was over, and I would look for love no more. Deep in the waters of love I am falling, sinking like a stone. Deep in my heart I can hear love calling, going once, going twice, going gone. Going once, going twice, going gone. There's a ship on the horizon, making its way against the wind. From the place where I stand watching, I swear my ship is coming in. Deep in the waters of love I am falling, sinking like a stone. Deep in my heart I can hear love calling, going once, going twice, going gone. Going once, going twice, going gone. Sinking like a stone. Deep in my heart I can hear love calling, going once, going twice, going gone. Going once, going twice, going gone. Deep in the waters of love I am falling, sinking like a stone. Deep in my heart I can.
And it's not hard to see why Don Williams loved that voice. Man, what a great song.
Oh, thank you. I tell you, if I never do anything else, sing that right there will take the cake.
Man, it's beautiful. Well,
It's really
I really appreciate you spending the time with us here, and just want to remind everybody Again, no more cloudy days. You can preview it on YouTube Music or YouTube or wherever you stream your music. But head over to barbarafairchild.com, buy a copy of that CD, and you will not be disappointed. Not a bad song on that album. And so much history behind it. And Barbara, I look forward to seeing you here in a couple of weeks in Nashville. And certainly thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
And I'll let you talk more.
No, look, people know enough about what we do week in and week out. They want to hear from you. So
I enjoyed it so much. Thank you.
This is the last few minutes where I get to tell everybody what we've got going on here. And I just want to let you know, please join myself and Steve Marquardt on Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central for Fort Worth Musical Moments. Each week we discuss artists and events shaping the Fort Worth, Texas music scene and beyond. You can find that on the Fort Worth Musical Moments Facebook group, the Rural Strong Media Facebook page, and the Clarksville Creative Sound Facebook page. We'll have another great guest here that we'll be announcing either tomorrow or Thursday. So make sure you're paying attention to those pages. And you know what we got coming on. Old Steve is en route from Nashville back to Fort Worth after spending some time with our friend Tommy Snyder with the American Country Network as they work out all the details here on Small Town Sound here and the editing booths here as they get things tidied up on that. So we'll be talking a little bit more about his trip this week to Nashville, and who knows what other hijinks we'll get into. Again, that's Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central for Fort Worth Musical Moments. Also, just a reminder to go download episode 132 of the Tractors and Troubadours podcast, which is online now, ruralstrongmedia.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. There you'll get your agricultural insights and the latest from emerging country music singer-songwriter Mackenzie McKetty, who also is currently vying for the title of Miss Oklahoma. And that competition is going to be held in a couple weeks here. She is burning it up. Mean fiddle player, great vocals. You may have seen her here recently on the Penny Gilley Show, her second appearance on the Penny Gilley Show on RFD TV. Just did a phenomenal job. So make sure you go check out episode 132 of the Tractors and Troubadours podcast, ruralstrongmedia.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, join us daily on Rural Strong Radio, our 24/7 streaming radio station, found at ruralstrongmedia.com, or the Live 365 streaming radio app for your mobile device. There you'll find our award-winning ag programming, as well as the best in traditional country music, mixed in with a little bluegrass, western swing, southern rock, and inspirational music. Again, the place to find that is ruralstrongmedia.com or the Live 365 streaming radio app. Again, a special thank you to our sponsors, Clarksville Creative Sound and the American Country Network. Be sure to check out the all-new American Country Network at acncountry.com. And be on the lookout for the new show, Small Town Sound, which chronicles the day-to-day activities of the Clarksville Creative Sound record label artists. It's going to be phenomenal. Some great artists on there. Check them out also at clarksvillesound.com. Well, again, a special thank you to our friend Barbara Fairchild for sharing a bit of her history and this phenomenal new project. Go out and get it today. And we're going to be doing these shows throughout the summer, so make sure you stay tuned to the Rural Strong Media Facebook page so you get all the details, and we'll see you on down the road. So for Barbara Fairchild, it's Brent Adams. Be blessed. Have a good night, everybody.